Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Here's the thing, you didn't fucking listen. You paused.
I takes it for my brain to react. I'm good at reaction time, you fucker.
Well, fuck you for not being good at reaction time, but that should suffice. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sabretooth. Joining me today is
Deadpoolzilla. Was that fast enough for you, you fucker?
No, it wasn't. You're never fast enough. You're never good enough, Deadpoolzilla. You are the weak link of Geeky Gentlemen. I want you to know that. Like, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and right now, Deadpoolzilla, you're the weakest. You need to know that. You should be ashamed.
You know, I'm only slightly ashamed because that's predictable.
Anyway, Deadpoolzilla, what are we here to talk about tonight?
We're going to talk about some villains.
Yay! What villain?
That villain is Victor Creed, aka Sabretooth.
Okay, and this is an interesting choice because, full disclosure, my knowledge of Sabretooth comes exclusively from the movies. I've never ever read an X-Men comic with Sabretooth in it.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not, like, you know me, I'm not a huge Marvel guy. My domain is primarily DC. Excuse me. And I don't know, I like know of Sabretooth. I'm not sure if he is in canon Wolverine's brother or not. But he's one of those characters that I've never picked up a comic with where he's in it.
Ooh, this is going to be fun.
So you're going to have to explain the character to me, and I'm going to have to see what I find interesting about him.
Alright. Well, for starters, Sabretooth didn't first appear in an X-Men comic. He first appeared in Iron Fist number 14, and which is kind of funny because Wolverine, who's also a classic X-Men, didn't appear in an X-Men comic. He appeared in a Hulk comic. So I find that funny, first off, that these two characters didn't appear in X-Men comics, first off. It was just other comics.
Well, I mean, that kind of just goes to the whole Marvel thing of where it was designed as a universe, unlike DC. Interesting little factoid that kind of goes to that point. The very first time there was ever an image from DC of Batman and Superman together was on a cover of a comic book in which there was a Batman story and there was a Superman story, but they did not meet. And just imagining myself as a comics fan back in the day, that would piss me the hell off. But yeah, I mean, that just kind of goes to the Marvel structure of creating a universe to begin with. So, like, they'd introduce characters that would eventually go on to have their own books in other books. Punisher was that way. There are just plenty of characters like that. Ghost Rider.
Yeah, Ghost Rider did appear. Well, he did get his own comic. I guess you could say another character would be Moon Knight. He appeared in Werewolf by Night.
Yeah, it's weird that like kind of thing happens, but at the same time, it's kind of what we're doing with the movies now. With like Black Panther, he appears in Civil War before he has his own film, and that's just, I don't know, that's kind of a neat little universe building trick. But to get to Sabretooth himself, so, like, was he a bad guy in the Iron Fist comic, or what's up?
Yeah, he was initially built as an Iron Fist villain, but Chris Claremont took him and made him a X-Men villain in the Marauders during, like, he made a few little appearances, but he didn't make, like, a major big appearance until the Mutant Massacre story arc.
Interesting.
And that's where we got to see Wolverine and Sabretooth's like real rivalry really come to a head.
Interesting. And so, like, when did they become... Like, I assume in X-Men Origins... Or, no, Wolverine Origins, sorry. The comic that they are brothers. Is that still there or no?
No, it's kind of written out. But at the same time, it's written, like, up in the air. That's the weird point, is that it's kind of left up in the air. And Chris Claremont actually wanted, and he got to do this in his out-of-canon X-Men Forever comics, he wanted to make Sabretooth Logan's father.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, they both... there is, like, a certain, connection between those two. Sabretooth, Wolverine, they're both, like, animalistic. They're both mutants. They both have this, kind of gruff, outdoorsy man kind of feel to them. So... that's certainly intriguing. I don't know, like, how much sense it makes beyond that on a character level. Like, I don't know how much Sabretooth has in common or in disagreement with Wolverine.
Well, the major factor of why Logan and Sabretooth are kind of like two sides of the same coin is that Sabretooth kind of has, like, this sick point that he wants to get across to Logan, that he is nothing more than an animal that he is. So he is the entire embodiment of Logan's just animalistic nature, and he's always trying to get it out of him.
Okay. And that's interesting, because I feel like that was definitely in... X-Men Origins Wolverine, not a good movie, but... God, the relationship between Logan and Sabretooth in that film, right? That is really...
Yeah, that's like the one... factor in that turd.
Yeah. It really is, and it's just like, I love how they paralleled them in all the different wars and stuff, and how Sabretooth just went too goddamn far, and Wolverine tried to hold on to some semblance of, capital H humanity, and that's what drove them apart. Man. Wolverine Origins. What a movie.
It is certainly a movie. But I think what's so interesting about Sabretooth is that in his own weird way, he's trying to help Logan. Because in his mind, he can't help, he just wants to set Logan free in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he keeps... because the big thing for Sabretooth for a while was every time Logan had his birthday, Sabretooth would come around and fuck with him.
How so?
He would either kidnap someone he loved and murder them, or beat the shit out of him, or do something just to get him riled up.
Interesting. That just feels like an older brother move to me. It just totally does. It feels like something your older brother would do. And like like in the way comics, like when we want to comment on something in society, we take it to like the most extreme, ridiculous end, and so that just does feel like sibling rivalry kind of stuff. In that particular comic booky way, that's funny. Huh. Okay. So I guess the animalistic side of Wolverine is one of those things I always find really interesting, where he never, like, as a mutant, he obviously doesn't fit in with society, and then just having to deal with the alienation he already feels from society based on that, and then just the fact that he's so old he doesn't fit in with mutants anyway. Or at least not very well. He doesn't socialize well with them. Giving that animalistic, just, you're not a person, you're a creature out in the world feel, and embodying that in a character that shares a lot of similarities with him is a really fascinating idea.
Yeah, and like I said, Sabretooth is trying to, in his own way, trying to help him in that regard. He's trying to just prove a point of, you and me, we're the same animal in the same boat.
Mm-hmm. Huh. Okay. So, like, what do you think separates Logan from Sabretooth, then?
There isn't a lot, sadly, that separates him from Victor, is because the major thing is that Logan, even though he does try to prove himself as a man more than an animal, the problem is that he keeps falling into that hole more times than he can count. Hell, when he actually went to hell, everyone he ever killed was there, including Victor.
Interesting.
So it's kind of that he's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of person. And Victor, in that way, in his own sick way, is already like, see, you're trying to be a hero, but look at this. Look what you did. That's you.
Mm-hmm. And so he's that kind of constant reminder to him in that way.
Yeah. In his own way, Victor is trying to keep it like in a just this kind of sick, twisted, just almost like therapeutic way. He's trying to say that, you're still the animal. You still need to be that animal.
Mm-hmm. Now, I guess the interesting question becomes, what does Victor get out of doing this? Like,
Fun. He is just doing it in his way. Like I said, he's trying to do it in his own way, but in the basic form of it, he just wants to have fun. He just loves fucking with Logan.
So again, kind of a little that idea then that they're brothers in some continuities is kind of fascinating. Then I like that because that just kind of fits. That fits really well. Well, I guess my question then for you is: do you feel that Sabretooth has much of a character outside of Logan? Like, does he have his own interests, or like is he a character that is just completely defined by his relationship with Wolverine?
That's an interesting take because there has been a few stories where he has joined the X-Men, and also they were in continuity stories, not just Claremont's X-Men Forever. Sabretooth has joined the X-Men a few times over, like after Magneto pulled the adamantium out of Logan's body, Xavier took Sabretooth in, and they were trying to heal him in a way. Mm-hmm. And they basically locked him up in the danger room until Jean Grey had to literally put a psychic leash on him.
Wow. That's nice.
Yeah. But he does kind of walk that line because in the comics, although they do, I can't remember if it's like 616 Sabretooth or Age of Apocalypse Sabretooth, which is a hero. But basically, Sabretooth, there was a point when Wolverine died and then Secret Wars showed up and then we got Old Man Logan. But before that, when Wolverine died, Sabretooth had this moment when he was in Africa, just killing people and dressing them up as Wolverine. He had this epiphany of, you know what? I'm going to change just to spite you, Logan.
So, he is, in pretty much every way, just so obsessed with Wolverine that he's unable to have much outside of Wolverine. Yeah. Even if he decides to change, it's because he doesn't want to make Wolverine right. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And I guess the third party in this relationship in an interesting way would be Beast, right? Because you have Sabretooth, who has just kind of embraced the idea of I'm an animal, nothing more. You have Logan, who is fighting between being an animal and being a man. And you have Beast, who in every sense is the most animalistic out of all of them, but is also the one who is most definitely a human. Right?
It's so weird, and I don't think they've ever brought that kind of point up in any X-Men comics.
But it just, like, I don't understand how, because that just seems so natural with Logan and Beast hanging out all the time. It would seem like, of course, like, Logan strives to be more like Beast than he strives to be like Sabretooth. It would seem like every time, like, it seems like the perfect story to really conclude this, or at least put a pretty good-ass cap on it. I mean, you wouldn't do this, because then you can't use Sabretooth anymore, but, like, would be to have Sabretooth really getting Logan down in the dumps and getting him almost to the point where he's gonna accept that he is just an animal, and then have Beast be the one that pulls him the fuck out of it. That seems like the perfectly natural thing to do. I don't know how no one else thought of this.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of came close in the Whedon run, but they didn't go that far with it, and I'm kind of sad.
Yeah,
But,
I mean...
that makes a lot of sense of Beast going, look at me, you know.
Sabretooth tries to make himself look more animalistic. That's why he grows out all the hair and everything. And like, I know a lot of, like, character designs I've seen of Sabretooth where he's, like, you know, got furs on and stuff like that. So he tries to be more animalistic, but he's still a man. So, like, honestly, he's the one lying to himself. He is still a human. Like, it wouldn't be as important to him to show Logan that you're an animal if he were not a person. Because if we talk about, forgive me, but if we talk about Aristotle defined man as a rational animal. An animal that has the ability to reason. And so, if Sabretooth was just truly, quote-unquote, an animal, he wouldn't be able to come to this conclusion that Logan should, you know, be more like him, be more animalistic, because he wouldn't have the capacity to care about something like that. So really, his whole thing is kind of hypocritical in trying to pull Logan down to his level, because if you were really an animal, it wouldn't matter. What?
I said his level doesn't exist.
Yeah, if you were really an animal, then you wouldn't care. You would just go be an animal. And so, like, that's kind of an interesting contradiction in the character then, and kind of why he's wrong, but he is still, on some level, preaching something that Logan definitely feels. He definitely feels that kind of isolation. And no one is more isolated from humanity just in, like, sheer physical, you look at him, that's not a person, than Beast. But yet, heck, McCoy is just, like, the most human member of the X-Men to me, where he's, like, his fascination with art, his fascination with, you know, moving people forward, doing science to help others, that he is a very, very, you know, humanistic character, and yet everything about him screams the opposite.
Exactly. And again, with Sabretooth, is that he, in his own, like you said, he's almost in a way lying to himself.
Mm-hmm.
But but basically with all Sabretooth comics, even when they're not focused on Wolverine, it's him just killing people. That's his whole thing, is that it's the same thing with Carnage in a way where, and I'm surprised Marvel never did a Carnage versus Sabretooth comic.
I can dig that. That could be fun. Oh.
Yeah.
And you know,
those kind of ideologies clash.
Oh my. Sabretooth and Carnage. Carnage is a weird character. Cletus Cassidy, man. Cletus Cassidy. Oof. Anyway, no, Sabretooth, yeah, that is interesting, though, that he is just basically lying to himself, because that's a trope with villains that I normally cannot fucking stand, is when they are, like, they don't buy what they're selling, you know? I made a whole video about this, how, like, I get really annoyed at large when someone does a story where, like, at the end, like, we do this a lot with the Joker, and it always annoys me, where, like, he doesn't really want to die. He's not really crazy or anything, he's just faking it, and so all the stuff he says to Batman isn't really how he feels, it's just, you know, bullshit. Like, I hate when we do that. It's just aggravating that they
You mean like the time in what was it, Snyder's Run with what was the name of that story? Endgame,
And
right?
yeah, Endgame did that, where like they're about to die together and Joker's trying to escape because he wants to live. Like, fuck that. That's not the Joker. That's like that. I get annoyed with that trope. I get annoyed when like everything Lex Luthor does, he does because he's just jealous of Superman. No, Lex Luthor's a bad person because Lex Luthor's a bad person. I don't like that. And with Sabretooth, it would seem like I wouldn't like doing where he doesn't actually want to be an animal. He's just jealous of Logan that he can't be more human, or that he can't, live a more human life. But on some level it just works because his ideas, his philosophy is just fundamentally flawed.
Yeah, it is, and I would say that there have been points where Sabretooth has been this, where he has kind of dodged the lines here and there, but at the same time, he's like, I can't. But every time he comes close to being redeemed, he's like, oh, wait, I'm the bad guy. I just I like killing too much.
Mm-hmm. And I guess the thing for him is that he just can't accept that that's part of what makes him human, is how flawed he is. Like, animals don't kill for fun. Only people do that.
Although it is kind of weird that, and I found this out, and thank you National Geographic, but I found out that wolverines actually kill for pleasure.
Oh, interesting. Huh.
See what I did there?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, that was like a really broad generalization. There are always exceptions, but like generally speaking, when we think of, animal nature, it's, survival of the fittest. They don't kill for shits and grins. By and large, predators don't do that. They do it to survive. They do it for food. They do it because they're trying to defend themselves. But if Sabretooth just likes to go around and murder people, then that's sadly one of the most human things about him.
Yeah, and I think there have been points where Logan has tried to make him go, you're not an animal, Vic. You're just crazy.
Oh, that's funny. That's interesting, though. Just the way that those two interact and bounce off each other. So I asked earlier, like, does he have much of a character beyond his relationship with Wolverine? So I guess the other question is, can he have a character? Like, is there a story to tell that is Sabretooth's story and not related to Wolverine in any way, shape, or form?
There's, if you're talking about the possibility, then I would say yes. But there have been a few stories that, like miniseries, that kind of focused on him, like Wolverine going on a hunt for Mystique. I mean, not Wolverine, Sabretooth. I'm getting the two mixed up. Fuck. But Sabretooth goes on a hunt for Mystique, and it turns out his son sent him on that mission. Then we had... there's another comic that basically has Sabretooth hunting a Wendigo in Canada, which is the comic, I'm going to tell you right now, it's just one giant ripoff of 30 Days of Night. No, it's a small, like they say, instead of Canada, instead of Alaska, it's Canada, and it's it's the same thing. Village is empty. Something killed them all off. And it's a big mystery of some animal, of what they think of some animal. It's the same fucking thing as 30 Days of Night.
Okay, Deadpoolzilla. Calm down. Breathe. Alright, but like, okay, so here's the question. Mickey Mouse walks into your house and says, "Hey, Deadpoolzilla, I want you to write me a Sabretooth story," and just, like, hands you a pen and some paper, and he's gonna publish it either in comic book form or whatever medium. It's fine. What would you do with Sabretooth, with the only restriction being no involvement with Logan.
I would like to have it that this would be because there was a time when Sabretooth and Logan were kind of apart from one another. Mm-hmm. So I would have it kind of focusing around his days from growing up to from the big gap, because there are plenty of stories of Wolverine in his past before he joined Weapon X. I'd like to do the same thing with Victor.
Okay. Like do a period piece kind of thing with him.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like have him there's so much, because like Wolverine, he's very he's immortal as well. So there's so much you could do with him, and the fact that he doesn't have any limitations like Logan does, or have that kind of same conscience, you're not really bound by, he's not going to kill this person. He might, but he's going to kill that fucking person.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to do maybe a noir type story, like something like a Northwest noir.
Okay. Interesting.
Maybe do a story of him in 1920s Louisiana. No one ever does crime noir stories in Louisiana anymore.
In the South?
Yeah.
I think it's because, the Gothic stuff kind of took over, with period South. We've got a lot of Gothic horror stuff that takes place in the South, like Diary of a Vampire, for example. So maybe... No, Interview with the Vampire. Why'd I say Diaries? Sorry. That could be interesting. I would like to do something focusing on him and Logan getting separated during a war. I think that could be interesting. To see that they were basically the same person until this moment where he was alone. That could be really fascinating. And that's when he started to go, a lot darker, a lot more, where he just did not give a fuck about people. Like maybe something wherein he had to survive, and there were other people there for him to survive with, but he decided it would be easier to survive on his own, and he ate them or something.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, especially if you make it really, really twisted, one of them's a kid. That could be a really, really fascinating moment that really defined where he differs from Logan. In that, he was isolated and he didn't have Logan to depend on, and so he had to make a choice of what to do in this situation to survive. And so he went for the most animalistic thing, which was just to eat, and that was what he used. That could be really interesting.
And you could have it as he has that moment of realization, and then he goes to Logan saying, "We're above this. We were never meant to be human. We're above humans. They're just cattle." And Logan's like, "No, Victor, that's this is wrong." And that's where it kind of starts that little fissure between them.
Yeah, and then that would make so much more sense for why he was attracted to Magneto in the first place. The idea of, Magneto saying we're better than humanity. That could be really interesting, too. Okay. I'm about out of stuff to say, and we're reaching our time limit. Like to do this thing on these character profiles where we try to recommend things to either read or watch with Sabretooth. Yes, every episode of a character profile is specifically stories about Sabretooth. Doesn't matter what character we're talking about.
I would say that some of the better stories are Sabretooth Death Hunt. That's a pretty good story, at least in my opinion. Mutant Massacre. It's not really Sabretooth centric, but he plays a role in it. Mm-hmm. I forget it. There's another one, and there's another X-Men comic with him in it. Well, no, it's a Wolverine comic. I think it's called Hunting Season, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And okay. I think that's about it, really. Those are the major Sabretooth stories.
Okay. I would recommend watching X-Men Origins Wolverine and like forwarding through the bad parts. Just like watch the scenes with Logan and Sabretooth. I think those are the things that are worth your time.
Because those are the only two actors giving a fuck about this movie.
Pretty much. Ryan Reynolds was having fun. Yeah, I'd say watch the scenes with them. I think those are legitimately good scenes in that movie, except for the last one. What else? The first X-Men movie's kind of pointless for Sabretooth. He's just there. I got nothing. I just say watch the good scenes from X-Men Origins Wolverine.
I would also say watch some of the episodes with him in it in the 90s cartoon.
Okay. All right. I hope that gives everybody a nice read, watch list, whatever. Dimplezilla, thanks for doing this.
No problem. This was a lot of fun.
It was indeed. Okay, everyone. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I am the Don Juan of Comic-Con.
And we are your geeky gentlemen. And we will be discussing things. Woot!